The Airbus A330 roared into the orange skies of New York, its nose lifting gracefully above the glittering city as the passengers settled into their seats. For most, it was just another flight, 6 hours of movies, meals, and quiet conversation before touching down in Los Angeles. Children pressed their faces against the windows, marveling at the shrinking skyline below, while business travelers opened laptops and flight attendants poured coffee. In the cockpit, Captain Laura Daniels adjusted the controls with a steady hand. To her co-pilot, First Officer Mark Whitman, she was the definition of calm professionalism. Every button she pressed, every adjustment she made seemed effortless, as though she had flown these skies her entire life. He admired her precision, but he also sensed something deeper, an intensity in her eyes, a sharpness that hinted at a past she never spoke about. 3 hours into the flight, a shrill alarm lit up the cockpit. Engine 2 had lost pressure. Mark stiffened. "Captain, we're losing thrust." Laura didn't flinch. "Shut it down before it burns." Balance thrust with the left. Her hands moved rapidly, controlling the massive aircraft with a speed that stunned Mark. The Airbus shuddered but steadied. In the cabin, most passengers barely noticed a change. Calmly, Laura spoke into the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've experienced a minor technical issue, but the situation is under control. Please remain seated." Her voice carried such assurance that many passengers simply returned to their meals. But Laura's eyes lingered on the horizon. Something about this didn't feel like a random malfunction. She had seen too many accidents like this in another life. Then Mark saw them.
Oh my God.
"Are those fighters?" 2 F-22 Raptors emerged from the clouds, sleek, silver, and menacing. They closed in fast, taking positions on either side of the Airbus. Passengers spotted them through the windows, gasping, whispering, some even crying. Fear spread like wildfire. The radio crackled. "Flight 732, this is Falcon Command. Maintain course. You are under escort." Laura's heart hammered. She knew this wasn't routine. And then came the words that froze her blood. "Shadowhawk, we know who you really are." Mark's face drained of color. "What did they just call you? Shadowhawk, Captain? What's going on?" Laura's lips pressed into a thin line. She kept her hand steady on the controls, though inside she was unraveling. Finally, she whispered, "Please, don't tell anyone." Years before she ever wore the uniform of a commercial airline captain, Laura Daniels had another name, Lieutenant Laura Kane, call sign Shadow Hawk. At Top Gun, she was a legend, a prodigy whose daring maneuvers left instructors speechless. She could thread through enemy fire, invert through impossible angles, and strike targets with hawk-like precision. She became one of the youngest pilots ever to fly Black Ops missions, trusted with secrets few would ever know. But brilliance came with a burden. On her final mission overseas, she led a strike against a rogue weapons facility. The mission succeeded, the target destroyed, but intelligence had been wrong. Civilians were inside. The collateral deaths haunted her. She walked away from the Air Force, given a quiet discharge, her record sealed. She changed her last name, took a new path as a commercial pilot, and swore never to fly in combat again. For a decade, her past remained buried, until now. The Airbus jolted violently as another alarm screamed. Engine 1 sputtered, coughing black smoke. Passengers shrieked, oxygen masks dropping from the ceiling. Chaos filled the cabin as the plane lurched downward. Mark's voice cracked. "We've lost both engines. We're going down!" But Laura's eyes burned with fierce determination. She yanked the yoke forward, sending the Airbus into a controlled dive. The jet plummeted thousands of feet. Passengers screaming as drinks and trays flew through the air. Mark clutched his seat, terrified. "What are you doing?" "You'll tear us apart!" "Trust me," Laura barked. The dive forced high-speed air into the turbines. At the last possible moment, she pulled back, leveling the aircraft just as the engines roared to life again. The Airbus steadied, gasps and sobs filling the cabin as passengers realized they were alive. Mark stared at her wide-eyed. "No commercial pilot knows that maneuver." "Who are you?" Laura didn't answer, but the radio did. "Only Shadowhawk could pull that off." "Stop pretending. You're needed again." Her hands trembled for the first time in years. The past she had fled was demanding her return. and the proof of her skill had just been witnessed by 236 souls. The Raptors stayed locked on either side of the Airbus as it flew lower under their escort. Inside, fear gripped the passengers. Some whispered prayers, others clutched their loved ones. The flight attendants worked tirelessly to calm the chaos, though they themselves were terrified. In the cockpit, Mark's voice was steady now, almost pleading. "Laura, I don't care what you did before. I just saw you save this plane when no one else could. If the Air Force says they need you, then you need to listen. This isn't about you anymore. It's about saving lives." Laura shook her head. "You don't understand. When I flew as Shadowhawk, people died. Mistakes I can't undo. I walked away to protect others from me." Mark leaned closer. "You saved 236 lives just now. That wasn't a mistake. That was destiny." Before she could reply, the radio came alive again. "Shadowhawk, enemy chatter has confirmed an imminent strike. Civilian lives are at risk. You are the only pilot with the skill and experience to stop it. Divert now to Falcon Base. We'll debrief you." Laura closed her eyes, haunted by fire and screams from her last mission. She had sworn never again, but she also knew the truth. Running from her past had nearly killed 236 innocents today. Maybe the only way to atone for her mistakes was to step back into the fire. She exhaled slowly and keyed the radio. "This is Captain Laura Daniels." "Shadowhawk, I'll comply, but my passengers land safely first." "Understood," came the reply. "Follow the Raptors to base." Laura switched to the intercom, her voice calm and commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. You may have noticed our escort. We are diverting for safety. I promise you, no matter what happens, you are safe with me." For reasons they couldn't explain, the passengers believed her. In that moment, she was more than a pilot. She was their protector. Guided by the Raptors, the Airbus descended toward a military base hidden in the desert. As the wheels touched down and the aircraft slowed, cheers erupted inside. Families embraced, passengers wept, and some even clapped for the woman in the cockpit who had brought them back from the edge of death. But as Laura powered down the engines, she knew her journey was far from over. Outside, soldiers waited. The F-22 pilots had already landed, standing on the tarmac. One approached, helmet tucked under his arm, eyes sharp. He saluted. "Welcome back, Shadowhawk. The mission isn't over. The country needs you." Laura stood at the cockpit door, pausing for one last look at the relieved faces of her passengers. She had saved them, but in doing so, she had revealed herself. Her secret life was gone. She squared her shoulders, stepped out into the blinding sunlight, and returned the salute. "Then let's finish what we started." And above, in the endless blue, the sky whispered her name again, Shadowhawk.